So let's multiply by decimals. On adding and subtracting, you have to line up the decimals, but multiplication you do not. Multiplication, let's do this one here. 1.72. You don't have to line it up at all. Okay? I just like to put the smaller set, the less set of numbers on bottom. That way I'm distributing the less amount of numbers, because the top I'm not going to shift. So what you do is you start in this column right here, and this is the number I start with. I got 9 times 2, which is 18. I'm going to carry the 1. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 1 is 4, carry the 6. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 6, which is 15, right? So now I'm starting in this column with the 0. So what I'm going to have to do is place a 0 in this column so that way I start right here. So I have 0 times 2, 0 times 7, 0 times 1. And it just so happens they're all zeros. That could have been a 1 in that place. I just wanted to do that so you can see it. So now we're going to add. So I have 8 plus 0, 4 plus 0, 5 plus 0, 1 plus 0. And I ask myself, how many decimals do I have? How many decimal places, How many decimal places do I have in this first one? Well, I have 1, 2. I have 2 decimal places. Right? Okay. This one here, I have 1. I have 1 decimal place. I'm going to add that up. So it's a total of 3 decimal places. So that means I need to go 1, 2, 3. So my answer here is 1.548. And that is multiplying decimals. So let's talk about dividing of decimals. So whenever we divide by decimals, guys, we have there's different ways to write this, right? We have our numerator, I'm going to abbreviate, divided by my denominator. If it's written like that, that's how it goes, right? It could be written as numerator over the denominator too as well. This is my dividend over divisor. You may hear that. So in long division, over here as a side note, we have our divisor, dividend. It's going to yield a quotient. The quotient is whatever I had to multiply by to get close to or equal to the dividend. And of course we subtract, right? However many it takes, and get a remainder. Sometimes it's 0. Okay, so let's do this. Let's divide this. We're going to set it up in long division, but the very first thing you have to note is the denominator, divisor, cannot have a decimal. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to look at that denominator, the divisor, and we're going to see, does it have a decimal? In this case, it does. So we got to move the decimal in this direction, number of times to yield a whole number. Okay, so I'm going to take that decimal, I'm going to go 1, 2. Oh, it took 2 times. So let's rewrite our equation here. Well, I had to move it 2 times in this direction to the right, right? Well, then that means I need to take this decimal and do the same thing to the numerator. Whatever I do to one part of the fraction or one part of the equation, you always have to do it to all parts. You can't just change only part of it. So this becomes 5,650 divided by 2. So now I can take my long division. Put your 2 out front, because it's my denominator, right? Put the 5650 on the inside, and let's divide. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Let's subtract it. 5 minus 4 is 1. And let's bring down the 6. 2 goes into 16 18 times. 8 times, oh, excuse me, I didn't mean 18, 8 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Let's subtract that. 0. Let's bring down the 5. And again, 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Let's subtract that. 5 minus 4 is 1. And let's bring down the 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10. And we get a remainder of 0. So my answer here is 2825. And that is my answer.